Alrighty. So I am Vicki Earhart. I am Director of Key Initiatives for our Customer Account Management team. And of course, DSCSA is close to everyone's heart right now. I just want to go over some things that will be coming your way so that you can start training yourselves, training your employees, and at all of your sites and make sure that we're getting updated properly. So Karen, you can go to the next couple slides. So first, just a reminder and kind of where Cardinal Health is overall in the grand scheme of DSCSA and the sterilization requirements. So the FDA exemption beyond the stabilization period was announced on October 9th. What that means is any eligible trading partner now has an exemption as follows. So manufacturers and repackagers have an exemption since until May 27, 25. Cardinal Health as a wholesaler distributor has one till August 27, 25. Dispensers that have 26 or fewer full-time and part-time equivalents have till November 27th, and then, or I should just say full-time equivalents, not part-time, sorry about that. And then small dispensers were issued the exemption November 27, 26 by the FDA in July 24. So just a reminder, what that means is what is an eligible trading partner? So Cardinal Health considers ourselves a eligible trading partner because we have consistently been working with all other trading partners to successfully complete and make documented efforts to complete data connections and send to data. So we are getting about 88% of all data coming in from our suppliers. We are passing on to you approximately 80% or higher at this point. So we do consider us an eligible trading partner according to the FDA's definition. Therefore, we would need to be compliant, everything working, everything perfect by August 27, 25. There are non-eligible suppliers that have not been sending us data, do not have connections set up, or have not been sending us data at all. We are down to about 10 to 11 of those. They are very small suppliers. We are still working with them to be compliant by this November so that we can continue to dispense their product. So we're continuing to work through them. We're hoping that all issues are resolved. If not, we would have to start quarantining their product if we don't have any data connections set up or are not receiving data. So this exemption does replace the which was the waiver exception that we did apply for with the FDA. And this will replace this. This makes us, of course, exempt until August 27. We are still continuing our efforts with our suppliers, like we said, to get that data to be 100% and to get it timely so that we can dispense the product to you timely without any quarantining come May 27th. Also, we are continuing to work through our efforts with all of you, our customers, and your third-party providers that might be sharing EPSIS data to make sure that we are sending 100% data down to you so that you can continue to dispense and resolving any exception errors. So with that, the returns becomes a very critical part of this as well. In order for us to be compliant as a wholesaler, we have to make sure that we have a sellable returns process into place, which means that we can only accept back returns that we sold to you. So we cannot accept back returns that maybe you bought from one of our competitors. Those products will get denied and we will not be able to accept those returns. Next page, Karen. So our whole goal is that by the time we hit, August for us, that there's no bumps in the road, that we've worked through all these defects, because we always, anytime you have a new system anywhere, there's always defects that we have to work through. And also we want to make sure we get you, our customers, ready to go. One big reminder is customers can run their own track and trace reports through the Order Express web portal. So whether that is a lot-based report that you may need now in order to be compliant, or a serialized data report, those are out there as well through the Order Express reporting. It's not advanced reporting, so you could just see it, and Hillary will go over where that is here in a bit. But also, we do have the webinar that we did back November as to how to use the serialized reports out on our resource center. The link will be provided here, as well as the track and trace reporting user guide that will be very helpful to your employees or any of you, so that you know how to use those portal reports. So just to reconfirm to what I said earlier, serialized data, we are getting about 88 to 90% in from our suppliers. We are shipping out about 75 to 80%. That number is going to continue to grow as we start commissioning items ourselves. We're able to do that in this exemption period, where if we have a product that has been sitting on the shelf that we did not get serialized data for, unless it's a case item, we are able to serialize that ourselves and send you the commissioning. So that number will continue to increase, but we do have gaps in data. That's why we're only at, 80%, 85%. So you could see one line on your invoice come in with all products that are serialized and other products not be serialized on that same order or invoice. So there also may still be delays and transmission of data. Our service level agreement that we are working on with our third-party provider is that we get all data to you within 30 minutes of the truck leaving, or at least 30 minutes, getting that data 30 minutes to your third-party provider. So if it's taking longer, we're still working through that. Sometimes it's taking an hour, sometimes it's taking an hour and a half. I can tell you we're doing a lot better than what we were even 2 months ago. So we're digging away at that. Sometimes it's we're even down to as close as 35 minutes. So it just all depends. Like I said, our IT team is working on that performance. Right now, though, you should be getting data within an hour, hour and a half, at least to your third-party administrator, and hopefully they're getting it down to your systems or processing them into their systems quickly, so that you can see that data in order to do any returns or exceptions that might be coming through. Our goal is we're continuing to work with our suppliers. We do want to get it 100% with them so that we can pass on that data. We know patient care is the utmost important thing of everything that we do and everything you do. So we want to make sure that our suppliers are sending 100% so that we can pass it on to you. Therefore, you can dispense the data or dispense the product to your patients. If you are using an EPSIS third-party provider, and if you are having issues or not seeing data that you expect, please reach out to your third-party provider first before reaching out to us. We work closely with all of the third-party providers, and we are partnering with them, and they all agree that you should go to them first, and then they will help you work out any issues that we might have. If you haven't signed up for an EPSIS third-party provider yet and you would like to, please reach out to your sales rep or account manager, and they will get you set up with they will do the proper paperwork and so forth for us to get you set up with that third-party provider. Also, I failed to mention, if you do have any questions, please put those in the Q&A. And then we will try to answer those as time allows. If not, we will answer them online. There's a question about recalls and returns. Recalls will be done the same way as they are today. That process does not change. And will there be a way to identify a product from a quarantine supplier? At the time, when we do end up quarantining, we will send out a report. It's actually the same report that you can get the GTINs on right now that will show if there is an exemption. It won't show you if it's a quarantine supplier. It will actually just show you if there's an exemption. There will be so I'm going to go back there a little bit. If we are quarantining a supplier, there'll be an availability alert on that item. when you go to order it, kind of just like as there is with a manufacturer back order. A question on what EPSIS is. EPSIS is a electronic product code information system. So that is all the data, and that's what they are calling the data that's the serialized information that goes in between all trading partners. All right, next page, please. So some exceptions that we should talk about right now is right now you will not see dropship data in your information. We are working with manufacturers and our third-party provider to be able to show that to you. We do not have a date as to when that product that data will be there, but we are continuing to work on that, and that will be there prior to any enforcement periods. Another important thing is you will not see any serialization data for your COVID vaccines. Your COVID vaccines have a 1-year FDA exemption until November 25. So you will not see that data. You will also you will also be missing data for a lot of plasma items. A lot of the plasma items might not have the right scanning on it right now, and we're also running into some packaging issues with them. We are working through that with the supplier as well as with our specialty pharmaceutical ops department to make sure that we are just fixing those. Next page. So something important. So this is hot off the press. We originally were going to go live with returns this weekend. As of about an hour ago, we are postponing the go live for this weekend. So didn't even have time to make up a slide for this. We will be giving a new date by tomorrow, but we heard from a lot of customers that they needed more time to train their sites, to train their employees on this. And with us doing webinars a week in advance, it wasn't enough time to train all the sites and train all your employees. So we heard you all. We know there's a lot of questions out there. Of course, we're proceeding with this webinar so that you can use this in training, as well as the other things that we have on the resource center. So date to come tomorrow. So just give us a little bit of time to figure out what that date is. I'm pushing for after the holidays because I know a lot of our customers are busy, very, very busy during the holidays, also have a lot of time off, and just minds are elsewhere than learning something new. So like I said, this was hot off the press as of literally an hour ago. I just got out of a meeting that we are going to postpone this deployment this weekend, just because we really did get a lot of feedback from customers that they're just not quite ready with training, and with us pushing training out a little bit late. But we're going to move forward right now. So new returns and exception process, when we do go live with it, serial numbers will be required when processing a return in WebLink or Express, or if you call customer service. Serial numbers are case sensitive if you are keying in those numbers into our ordering platform. So if it's a capital T, you need to make sure it's a capital T. If it's a small e, make sure it's a small e. This is a GS1 standard. It's not a Cardinal Health thing. It's the way that serialization just actually works. You need to make sure that you are using the case sensitive alphanumeric. Also, to return a DSCSA items, customers will be required to enter that serial number. We will validate that we sold you the product. Like I stated earlier, if that product was not sold by us, you can't return it to us. You have to return it from wherever you purchased it under. Also, if since as I stated, we're only at about an 80% serialization rate on the way out. So if you are trying to return product at the time of purchase and it was not serialized at the time of purchase, Cardinal Health will use that latest invoice that has a consumable quantity, which means you have not returned anything against that invoice yet, and it did not have serialized data. So if someone fat fingered something yesterday and you only wanted one amoxicillins but they accidentally typed in 11 and you need to send 10 back, but those 10 were not serialized. When you go to enter those, you still put the serialized information in the system. It'll then look and see if it was serialized or not and take it against what would be yesterday's invoice. You just have to make sure, you keep the one that you want. And then the Order Express mobile app will be the most efficient way to process a return. Unfortunately, we were not able to program a 2D scanner to parse information correctly when we were going into Order Express. That will eventually be in Vantis, but as of Vantis is Cardinal Health's new ordering system that we're rolling out here in January. But in the meantime, Order Express mobile app has been set up. It is the most efficient way to process a return. Even if you don't normally use the mobile app for anything else, I would suggest that you download it and you get that it's either an Android or a Apple device. Even buy a cheap one, maybe for your like just a cheap one that has Wi-Fi capabilities for your store or for your site that your employees could use to do scanning if they are doing returns. It will make it easier than typing in that long digit GTIN or that long digit serial number. Just a reminder, anyone that is using the SureCost or Order Insight EDI 180, it will be temporarily discontinued when we do turn on this returns functionality. Customers who use the 180 will have to use Order Express, WebLink, or call into customer service to allow the return to happen. We will communicate in early 2025 when we do expect to roll out the functionality again of the 180. It's unfortunately just a temporary discontinuation we will have to do. Just a reminder again, scanning capabilities will only be available via the Order Express mobile app using an Android or iOS device or Cardinal Health's QS22 scanners that some of you may be leasing. Order Express won't have a 2D scanner capability. It's an enhancement that is coming later. But again, make sure you download that mobile app and it really will save time. And what I also tell people is still try to use Order Express or the mobile app for all of your returns instead of calling customer service, because you also will be on the phone with them longer. It'll take longer to do the return. And of course, things can get fat fingered that way too when you're verbally telling someone over the phone, a long serial number or GTIN, especially with that case sensitive things. Next page. Also, some 340B return facts that I know is going to cause some angst, but unfortunately, a product cannot be returned to a wholesaler distributor unless it has the original TITS information with it. It must match. So therefore, all 340B products that are sold to a 340B site has to be returned under the 340B account. You cannot return it under the GPO account. You can't return it under the WAC account. You can't return it under your contracting pharmacy's retail account. It will have to be returned on the 340B account. Hold on. If a serial number was shipped under a 340B account, like we said, must be returned there. The credit also will be given to the covered entity. You have to remember the covered entity is the entity that owns the product, not the contract pharmacy. So even though the contract pharmacy has it in their possession, they do not own that product. The product is owned by the covered entity. Therefore, the return must be done by the covered entity on the covered entity account. Also, I know this, also with this, the merchandise transferred through through the 340B credit replenishment program will not be eligible for return to Cardinal Health. So once that item is moved from the retail account to the 340B replenishment contract account or contract pharmacy account, you will no longer be able to return that product. Everything will still work the way it does, but unfortunately that product will not be able to be returned. And next page. All right, I'm going to just go through a couple questions here and see if we can do a couple of those. Can an updated list of DSCS items be sent? That is already out on the Order Express. It's under what's called the GTIN report. Hillary, you might want to show that when we walk through your part of the demo, but that is already out there. Can your current handheld devices be used to process returns as a device uses the mobile app? Be used to process returns as that device uses, yes. Any current handheld device that currently uses the mobile app can continue to use the mobile app. You will not see that functionality there yet. That functionality on your mobile app will not be there until we actually go live. Question if you have to apply for a small dispenser or do you need to confirm? No, you do not need to apply for a small dispenser. The only thing is if you do get audited, you could just have to prove that you are a small dispenser. For the EDI 180s is for returns, not ordering through Pioneer, correct? I'm not going, orders are uploaded. It's not ordering through Pioneer. So the EDI 180 for returns is usually done through Order Insight or SureCost. If you use either one of those two systems, those are the only two that I know use the EDI 180. Your orders coming in are not affected whatsoever. So the EDI 180 is just for returns. In order to return under a 340B account, is that a different login and what do you normally use? So I think that is if it is a contracting pharmacy, how would you do that return? The covered entity would have to do that return for you. If that is the question, because I know usually contracting pharmacies do not have access to their accounts in Order Express. So you would either have to call it in to Order Express or to customer service or have the covered entity process your return via Order Express. On 340B account returns, if they purchase any item under WAC or GPO, they can only return it. No, so wherever you purchase that, whatever account you purchase that item, whether if you purchase that item under the WAC account, you can only return it on the WAC account. If you purchased under the GPO account, you can only return on the GPO account. If you purchase on the 340B account, only can return it under the 340B account. And with that, I know that was about 3 minutes of rapid fire questions there. I'll try to answer more of these online, and Nate is going to go through the mobile app demo here as well as the Order Express portion as well. So with that, Nate, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Vicky. So, hey, everyone. Next, we're going to be going into a demonstration of the new returns process. So, from the mobile app, like how you scan a product, find the barcode, and add to your credit request. And then we're going to jump into the Order Express website view so we can see actually getting the credit request submitted and generating the MRA. So, feel free to use the chat or Q&A for any questions. Karen, I think we're good to kick this one off. Hello. Today, I'm going to be demonstrating the new returns process from the Order Express mobile application, scanning a product, adding a product from the mobile application, and then we're going to go into the Order Express website and then finish creating our MRA. As you see, I'm in the mobile application and I've navigated to the credit request tab you can find under the More panel, where you'll see upon navigating into the credit request tab, I currently have no products within my credit request. There are two different ways to add products to your credit request. One being to scan your product, another being to search for your product within the magnifying glass up above. In this example, we're first going to start by scanning our product's barcodes, which is the most efficient way to add your product to your credit request. Once I click scan, you'll see that my camera has now rendered displaying, and I can now use my mobile device to then scan the different barcodes I have available to me. In doing so, you see with each of my successful scans, I get a green success indicator alerting the user that yes, your product has been added to the credit request. You'll also see the details being added below. And upon all my successful scans, I'm now navigated back into my credit request. You can see that I have the product serial numbers, SIN numbers, and I have the ability to update the unit of sale for each of my different products. In this example, we're going to be selecting an each for our first product. And upon successfully selecting the each value, you'll see that now my unit of sale has been updated for that product to display with an each below as well. And I get the blue success indicator. I'm going to be doing the same thing for these following two products as well. For our next one, we're going to be selecting a case. And then for our third product, we're going to be selecting an each for this value as well. Now that I've successfully scanned and added each of my products to our credit request, we're now going to move into adding a new product to our credit request via the search panel. I'm going to be using our product SIN number to search for it. And then I'm going to select go. And I can find the product's details. By going under the more detailed values, you'll see that I have the More Actions tab displayed below. And upon selecting the More Actions tab, I have the ability to add to the credit request. Now that I've added my next product to our credit request, you'll see that I have that product's unique identifiers displayed below my current product as well. I have the product's NDC, SIN number, and I have the ability to update the unit of sale quantity. I went ahead and selected the serial number for our previously scanned products, where you can see I'll be navigated inside an editable field for our serial numbers, which are anywhere between 0 to 20 characters, and our G10 values that contain anywhere from 8 to 14 numeric values. I'm going to go ahead and remove a product, as you see here, and I get a successful notification alerting the user that yes, my product has been removed from my credit request. I'm then going to go ahead and update the unit of sale quantity. And now I have successfully updated each of the values, and I'm ready to go ahead and jump into the website version of Order Express to complete my credit request and generate the MRA. A quick call out before we transition over is that my products are synced within real time, and so anything I do within the mobile application, I will now have readily available to me within the Order Express website. This now concludes our demonstration from the Order Express mobile application. We'll now be transitioning into the Order Express website view, where we'll be completing our credit request and then generating the MRA. From the page, I'm going to be adding another product to our credit request to also demonstrate the interim return process. Under our search bar, you have the ability to enter the product's NDC, UPC, or SIN number. In this example, we're going to be using the SIN number, and upon entering the SIN number, I can then select Find Product. When finding that product, you'll see that I have the product's unique identifiers displayed below, where I have a default value quantity of 1, and then I receive the product SIN number, NDC, and also a description of that product. From here, I can select Add to Credit Request, where I'll receive a confirmation modal letting me know that my items have been added to the credit request, and I have the ability to navigate into the credit request detail page. In this scenario, we're going to select OK and be navigated into the credit request detail page. So I am in the credit request page, where you'll see that I have the previously scanned products from the mobile application entered into the credit request. You'll see that the G10 value and serial numbers have displayed. However, the G10 value is listed as recommended. If you have multiple products to be entered in your credit request and you do not have the G10 available to you, that will not create an error in our application. However, if you have multiple products that be adding to our credit request, the value is recommended, as it does improve performance of the application. Now that I have all my products added to my credit request, I can now go about entering all the additional required information to get this MRA created and submitted successfully. For our first product, since I have the G10 and the serial number already entered, I'm now going to select Match to Invoice. In doing so, I now receive the previously issued invoice, invoice date, purchase order, quantity, and previous return and cost as well. So we have successfully got a match to our invoice for our first product, and now we are going to go into our interim return. In the event that a product does not have a serialized number at the date of purchase, Cardinal will use the latest invoice number without serialized data to support the interim return. In this example, I'm going to be entering a serial number to then get our interim return processed, where you'll see that I'm adding the required serial number, and then I'm also going to be supplying the product's G10 value as well. By selecting Match to Invoice, I will then receive the latest invoice number without serialized data, so we can still support the interim return and have the product returned back to Cardinal as expected. You'll see below our non-serialized item also came populated with the invoice date, purchase order number, and the other values applicable as well. Now we are ready to select our return reasons for the product. You will see at the line level that we supply different return reasons for each of our different products. In the example where a product you received it damaged, you received an overstocked, whatever the reason could be, we also give you a line item comment that you could enter to provide us with additional details in the event that there is a more descriptive reason that you'd like to add for submitting the product. Now that we have matched all of our products to an invoice, selected our reasons, you will see that we also receive line item errors. In this example, we see that the quantity exceeds the invoice. The quantity exceeds the quantity available in the return, and I am then going to edit this quantity to ensure that we still get a 1-for-1 match, so we're returning the correct quantity for that specific invoice. Once updated, you will see that the error message is no longer displayed. However, if you receive an application error, you will also see additional text notating to please call our customer service team to support you with your return process, and we can help troubleshoot the issue. Now that I have selected all of my required fields, I am now ready to submit the return. Below your final product, you will see that you have a orange submit button, where upon selecting this button, you will see that the return is now being processed, and upon a successful return, you will be navigated to the newly created MRA. In this example, we're seeing that this item is not eligible for return as the invoice exceeds the age with the return policy. In this example, that user could contact customer service to continue to grab additional information to support their return. I'm now going to navigate to our Returns tab to find that newly created MRA, where you'll find all of the details entered for your specific product. You will also be able to click the plus icon to expand the product's G10 and serial number to ensure that the information is matching from your submit your credit request detail page over into your newly created MRA. Within your MRA, you will also have the ability to print and sign your MRA to send the return back to Cardinal successfully. This concludes the demonstration. Awesome. So we're still working through some questions within the Q&A. Stephanie, I see one of your questions. Do you log into the mobile application with the same credentials as the website? Yes, that is correct. And we'll keep working through our Q&A. Next, I'm going to pass it over to Hillary.
Thank you, Nate. All right. So we are going to talk through exceptions processing and how that is going to look in the future. Again, as of yesterday or as of a little bit ago, that was going to be activated on 11/10. To Vicky's earlier comments, just as a reminder, that date is moving. We will formally communicate that as quickly as possible. Once we have the new date, however, this is how exceptions are going to work. So let's go to the next slide. And really the key here is going to be that serial numbers are required. That is going to be paramount whether or not you are calling in or emailing customer service to report that your site received either an overage of product or a shortage of product. Depending on how you receive your serialized transaction data, again, that could be via your third-party data provider if you are using an EPCIS solution provider, or if not, via our web portal, which you would access either through your current e-commerce site. So if you're an Order Express user, or if you do not use one of our e-commerce solutions, then logging in directly to the web portal. Essentially, though, in either instance, you're going to need to identify the serial number or numbers that are in error. So in the case of an overage where, we've shipped you 13 bottles instead of 12, we're going to need to understand what is the serial number that you received that you should not have based on the data. That is going to need to be submitted, again, whether you're calling into customer service, emailing, whatever your normal process is. Same thing with a shortage. So in the case that you order 12 bottles, we ship you 10 of those. We will need to know, based on the product that you received, what 2 serial numbers in that example you were missing. That is obviously going to be a different process than what happens today. In terms of, SOPs and determining what will that look like in the future. This is where getting really familiar and comfortable with accessing your data and how you run those reports or how you access them via your third-party provider is going to be really important, so that processes are in place well in advance of us activating the returns. And then, of course, once we are into the full enforcement period, and that there are SOPs and all of those pieces, and that all of the pharmacy techs or anyone at your sites that are processing returns are up to speed on what that means, because that will be very important, and it will be required upon submission. So we were going to spend a few minutes here and talk through reporting for a few moments. So I am going to share my screen and share with you all. So some of you hopefully were able to attend our webinars that we held a while ago now around customer reporting and serialized transaction data. No worries if you were not able to join that one. We went over these in depth. We won't have that time to dedicate today, but I did want to do a refresher. Those are available on our resource site. The first thing I want to show you in here, Vicki alluded to this earlier, is where can I go for more information? Where are user guides to see these? How can I help train my staff in my facility to grasp these concepts and be in good shape to start? So the first thing we're going to do is find that. I happen to be in the retail platform, so I did see a question come through on the Q&A earlier. And it said, my Order Express looks a little bit different. Yes, there are multiple storefronts. This one is the retail that I'm doing the demo in so that we could see it. These are going to be located in the same place, regardless if your Order Express looks a little bit different than this one. On the left-hand side where it says Help Guide, it's going to say Help again, regardless of which platform you're in. We're going to click that. I'm going to warn you, we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. So bear with me here. And on the left-hand side, you're going to see a DSCSA section. This part is the resources that will help, again, get your facilities ready and help ask really good questions so that there are processes in place. One, when we activate the returns and exceptions processing, again, to come at a later date. And then finally, once we're in full enforcement. You're going to see things in here like the track and trace reporting user guide. That's going to go over both the lot-based and the serialized report that we'll touch on very briefly, but this is an 11-page in-depth guide. Our FAQ document, this Cardinal Health pharmaceutical tracing link. So when we say the resource site or the resource center, or these slides and recording will be on the resource site following, this is going to be the link to get you to there. information from the FDA. And then these are the newer pieces that are in here around the returns experience. So this one is going to be a PowerPoint that it is available to anyone to go over. And then finally, I believe this is a 2-page user guide around the returns process within Order Express, again, once we activate it. Finally, the DSCSA G10 report is also available here, but in either platform, you're going to scroll or go to help, scroll all the way down on the left-hand side. All of these resources are going to be under that DSCSA banner. Okay, so from a reporting standpoint, so across the top here where we see reports, we're going to click on that. Again, this should be a refresher to some. I can't reiterate this enough that if you have not been in here yet, even if you plan to use an EPCIS provider, it is a great idea to go spend some time in here. When you're able to carve out some of that time, getting familiar with how this functions and being able to pull this information. Again, even if you use a third-party provider, this may be faster and help with that exceptions and returns processing. The track and trace report, which is the first one listed, is the existing lot-based report. The one under that with serialized products, in parentheses, is the one that we're going to look at. To Vicky's earlier point, we are not sending 100% of data yet. We are working with manufacturers so that we can march towards that 100% compliance rate and make sure that we're sending all of the data that we can forward to our customers, but we are sending a majority at this point. That could mean, however, that there is missing line items on here that you would expect to see or missing invoices. And again, those are being worked through. This is the web portal. So we have passed into the portal by clicking on that track and trace serialized products link. You enter the portal in whatever ship to account you selected within Order Express. And so I happen to be in here. The first thing that's going to populate at the top are all of the search criteria options. This is taking a minute to load. We did have some issues with this a couple of days ago. IT is engaged. So if you're trying to follow along as well and you're seeing some of that slowness, again, our IT team who's responsible for this is aware and looking into it. But these are all of the ways that you can search for an invoice. There is a lot more criteria that you can utilize now than we used to have. Things like purchase order number is new. Of course, serial number is new because that wasn't available before. But any of these boxes here are able to be selected and searched upon. The big thing to note is that invoice date is always going to default to the last 7 days. That's only for performance reasons. This can all be changed to go and find the information that you need, but we wanted to start by giving you a list of invoices, but didn't want it to bog down the system by running for too long. You can simply change it, however, if you want to look at the past, week, the past month, any of these time periods. If you're looking to run historical data and you need to pull all of 2023, for example, this is exactly how you would do that. And you would change that criteria here. We're going to say the past 3 weeks. This is going to take a minute. Normally what you would see happen as soon as you change any of these criteria, doesn't matter which one, is this button that's spinning currently will turn blue, and you will always have to click on that. It'll say update. You will always have to click on that button for the change to take and for the criteria to actually be filtered by. So this is definitely going to be a little bit difficult for us to showcase everything here. Again, the same thing. So our apologies for not being able to show these pieces, but what you would expect to see below is a list of invoices. So again, anything shipped to that account within the past 7 days is going to be what first populates here, and you're going to be able to drill into that invoice. While this is loading, I'm going to show you what this looks like. So if we go back into that help section and we're going to pull up the user guide, there are lots of screenshots that we've put in there to help customers, our account reps, et cetera, anyone who would be looking at this, determine what they would be able to see. So let me scroll so you can find it here. Again, bear with me. I know this is not ideal so that we are able to show you this live, but of course we're having some technical issues here. Again, this is going to be what that criteria looks like. The top part of this user guide is all the lot based, and then the bottom, a little bit over half here, is all around the serialized product. So again, these are screenshots. This exact same account that I'm demoing in is the one that is utilized here, but this is what you would expect to see come up when or if the platform was returning results as we would expect. So you're going to see that list of invoice numbers. You would be able to simply click on one, and then what's going to come up is your actual invoice report. So it's going to have your header information here. It's going to have your invoice information and account number, ship date. And then what you're going to find here in the bottom is going to be your actual item information. And within the portal, then by clicking on this invoice number on the left, you will be able to actually drill down. So you're going to click on that invoice number, you're going to click on serial number, and then it's going to pull up this Excel-like report where you will see all of the individual serial numbers that are from that invoice. So again, I wish I could show you in here so that we could really click around and look at those. Unfortunately, we are not. So at this stage, I would recommend one, utilizing these resources so that you have pictures of what that looks like and increase the familiarity. And then also from our resource site, the webinars that went over customer reporting are also located in here. So again, you can get to that through Order Express, and you can rewatch any of those webinar videos as well, where we do some live demoing and go through all of these pieces so that you can see, live clicking and see a lot of the questions that were asked and hear those answers to talk through that. Final piece on this, that if you also act as a contract pharmacy in the 340B space, you are able to see those invoices in here as well. How you would do that is by utilizing this DEA number radio button. And really anyone can do this, even if you don't act as a contract pharmacy. When you execute this change, again, this is being a little finicky right now, but once you execute an update with that DEA number, then any account that shares that DEA number then will populate below with those invoices for the time period you selected. So if you need to see something shipped to your facility, but currently you're not within that account, you're in your retail account, for example, you can still get to those invoices and see that information. If you don't want to look at a specific invoice and rather you have a different use case, and maybe you want to see, I want to see all serial numbers for a particular NDC that I've received in the past 6 months, for example, then you are able to do that type of searching by going into this View DSCSA Transaction Line Details tab. And it's going to look very similar to that first page with giving you the exact same search criteria. You can make those selections. So again, if I cared about a specific NDC, I wanted to look in the last 6 months and see what was shipped to me. Then once we execute those changes, the bottom list will look Excel-like and not invoice specific, and it'll return every time that NDC had been shipped to me for the past 6 months, and I'd be able to download that to Excel and see all of those individual serial numbers. So again, our apologies that this is being finicky. IT is on it and will continue to work through that. But again, encourage you to utilize those resources. that are available to you within Order Express. And I think I will turn it back over. Vicky, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, the only thing I have, so we were typing as quick as possible, so hopefully all of our answers made sense. I know I'm not the best typer or quick typer. One question though, was that they understand that currently the credit-based replenishment program through Cardinal Health will no longer work. No, that is not true. It will continue to work. The credit-based replenishment program through Cardinal for 340B will work. So that process still works. There's a caveat. You can no longer return an item once it has been moved over to the contracting pharmacy through the credit-based replenishment program. So everything works. I heard there's very few items that actually get returned through that process. The reason why we cannot allow that is we do not know which of the serialized items that you are moving over from your retail pharmacy to the contracting pharmacy's account. So since we no longer have ownership and can touch the item, it kind of puts us out of compliance if we could just say, yeah, we could then take it back when we can't. We don't know which product that you moved. So, but everything else works, and you should be able to use that, the 340B credit-based replenishment program. If a product does come in damaged, like a liquid damage, and you cannot read a serial number or a barcode, you'll just have to call customer service and let them know that, or use that, or in Order Express, use that damaged code. If you say receive damaged, and then it will bypass allowing to use the serial number. But that, I think you have to record those damages pretty quickly. All right, with that, I want to thank everybody again. Again, you are the first customers to find out that we are pushing the go live from this weekend. We will get a date out there by tomorrow as to what the new date will be. The good news is you now have a longer period to train your staff. We will get this webinar out here next week, out onto the resource center. We'll send that also in the communication of where to go to. The great news is on the resource center, we do have a PowerPoint that walks through the process of how to do a return. Also talks about overages and shortages. Don't forget there's the old webinar besides this one that Hillary just went through of how to use reporting. So lots of good stuff out there to use in the resource center, and look for that comms that will be an alert on Order Express and web link tomorrow. And also we will provide it in a tote stuffer that we are moving the returns go live. So sorry for the inconvenience of having to move it, but we did hear you all. We know you need more time to train your customers or train your employees. And then, as we get closer, we may offer another webinar too, another Q&A. If you have any questions in the meantime before go live of the returns functionality, please reach out to DSCSA info@cardinalhealth.com, and we will definitely get back to you as soon as we can. In the meantime, still start getting ready for DSCSA. Start looking at your data. Please ask us questions now. Be on the forefront of this. You don't want to be the last person looking at it with probably a bunch of other customers, because then we won't have time to get, your questions answered. So start looking at this now. It gives us time to fix things, gives us time to provide your feedback into what we roll out, and it's just very helpful. So with that, I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday that's coming up here shortly, and we'll let you know when we roll this out. Thanks, everyone.